BigCountryPreps.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is our Countdown to Two-A-Days series, our daily look at an area football team and the key questions we're going to be answering about that team on our Wednesday, August 17th preseason preview here at Big Country Preps. I'm with my partner here, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom, and tonight, Dan, we are going to be talking about the Hico Tigers.
Yeah, and Hico took a nice step forward last year in Coach Todd Swearingen's first year, finished 5-6, reaching the playoffs. Unfortunately for Hico, and one of the big questions for them this year is how are they going to replace some of the kids they lost? They had a big, really quality senior class. They have lost 14 of the 21 lettermen from last year's team, only returned 4 offensive and 3 defensive starters among their 7 lettermen. So they are going to have a lot of holes to fill, and that's going to be leave a lot of questions that we're going to be trying to answer when we put together our preview on the 17th of August. But one thing I think is good is they were able to kind of reset the expectation a little bit last year, going 5-5 during the regular season to make the playoffs. And now just going to be trying to build on what they did last year in Coach Swearingen's second year. But there are going to be some young players stepping in. They've got a really nice sophomore class they're going to be drawing from, and in some cases, some juniors that are going to have to step up big for them. This team only has 2 seniors. It's that the experience is going to be an issue for them. But so it's going to be interesting to see just how some of those younger kids rise up, because they're going to have some leadership opportunities, which could pay off for them in the long run.
They'll have a lot to learn this year. But one good thing, if you look at this roster, they do have quite a bit of size, and size is one thing. Size and strength is the one element that can really overcome or help you overcome a lack of experience. Just brute strength, just plowing your way through. And they do have a lot of big kids up front, a good group of 225 to 250 pound kids that might be able to get that push up front. And that takes so much pressure off of your young skill people. So that could be a huge key for Hico this year. Can they get that push up front from that young offensive line?
Yeah, and they're going to have a couple of skill guys as well that I think have an opportunity to be playmakers. Quarterback Carson Keller, who was a starter last year at cornerback, he's going to now be stepping into that role offensively, where he's going to have a big role. And Price Mullins, a guy who's a potential playmaker at the running back position, just a sophomore, got some experience, valuable experience last year, rushed for over 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. So those are kids that they're going to have to lean on pretty heavily. These kids are going to get, they got a little bit of experience last year, and they're going to see their roles increase. And that's kind of going to be the story across the board for this Hico team, is you're going to see a lot of kids with an opportunity to play more than they have in the past, and to be, leaders for this team. So it's going to be neat to see how that kind of shakes out. I think Coach Swearingen, on the whole, likes what he's got. He feels like this team has an opportunity to have a similar season to what they had last year, maybe take a step forward. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that plays out.
And he thinks pretty highly of his junior and sophomore classes. He likes those groups of kids, those young kids, quite a bit. So that it bodes well. If they get through this, and play, if they're fairly competitive this year and can learn from the experience, it really bodes well for Hico in the future. And you have to like what you're seeing. 2 or 3 years ago, when the numbers were really down, it didn't look so great for Hico. They were struggling they didn't have a JV out there. It's nice just to have some bodies, some numbers, and we're starting to see that push forward now finally.
And the good thing for them too is, you look at the district they're in. There's you can feel pretty safe saying they will not be challenging for a district championship just because they share a district with state power and perennial state title contender Mart. But there are a lot of winnable games in this district. There are some programs that have struggled in recent years that I think gives Hico a really good chance to compete for that 3rd or 4th playoff spot. Even with a younger team. And looking at that schedule, they open the non-district portion of their schedule with a home game against Bruceville Eddy, go to Moody, come home to take on Cross Plains, which could be a really interesting game. And they finish up non-district portion at De Leon. So I think this is going to be a really good, challenging non-district schedule that's not going to be too challenging. They're going to have opportunities to win some of those games as well going into district.
And then jumping into the district portion of Hico's schedule, they open on the 23rd of September at home against Frost. Then they've got Mart on the road, obviously a very difficult game on the 30th. They host Wortham on the 7th of October. A road date at Dawson comes after that on the 14th, a home date against Hubbard on the 21st, and then a road date at Meridian on the 28th to close out the regular season before jumping into what they hope is a playoff run. Game of the year. I'm gonna go with 2 for Hico. I think there's a couple of important ball games for them. Wortham on October the 7th is going to be a pretty important ball game. I'm assuming that they're going to take care of business and beat Frost. I'm going to assume that they take care of business and beat Frost before going into Mart as a very big underdog, as everybody will be. The next two games after that, Wortham and Dawson. Wortham at home, Dawson on the road. I think those are competitive games for Hico that are winnable. I think that they shape up as games that are going to be really determinate or determine playoff seeding. Those are the most important games on their slate as I see it.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, those two games are going to be really big for them, Wortham and Dawson. And I would even go farther and say it's a 3-week stretch. That following game after the Dawson game at home against Hubbard is going to be a big one as well. I think when you look at their schedule, Frost and Meridian, I think are games that if Hico plays well, I think you can kind of bank those wins. But that 3-week stretch after that Mart game, that's really going to go a long way in terms of determining whether Hico makes the playoffs and what seed they have if they do. But I think this team, even as young as it is, has the potential here to get to the playoffs. They're just going to have to play well, particularly during that 3-game stretch.
Absolutely. I think the Mart's in there, and that's the one beast in the group. Mm-hmm. But this district is not overwhelming. If Hico can get a push up front, they're going to compete. If they get that push up front from those big kids of theirs, I think that's going to be the name of the game.
Yeah. And the thing that's good about this is there's not a lot of experience on that offensive line, but we've mentioned it. There are plenty of big bodies and some kids I think that Swearingen feels like have the ability to grow into really good offensive linemen for them. So I think this could be a really good growing process, a really good growing season for them to where they can just continue the process and continue the progress that was made last year. And if they can do that, this is a team I think that has a chance to really do some special things the next couple of years.
And with that, it's just about time to wrap up this installment of the Countdown to Two-A-Days series, the Hico Tigers. But before we do that, we want to remind you that we've got 3 separate subscription packages here at BigCountryPreps.com. We've got a monthly for $5 a month. We've got a semi-annual 6-month subscription for $4 a month. And then we've got an annual 12-month subscription where you knock that price down to $3 a month. $36 for a full year of Big Country High School athletic coverage. And please note that even though we've got high inflation, our prices have stayed the same.
And we'd also like to remind you one more time before we end this episode of our Countdown series to be on the lookout for our Big Country Preps preseason football preview, which again will drop on the site on August 17th. That is a Wednesday. There will just be a ton of content on area football. You will not want to miss that. In the meantime, thank you for joining us for this episode of our Countdown to Two-A-Days series. And make sure you join us again tomorrow when we will be highlighting the Forsan Buffaloes here at BigCountryPreps.com.